Hi everybody, welcome to Daily Deco. Today's episode of Daily Deco is sponsored by our very own Teespring store, but more about that later because we actually have some new news about it, which is quite interesting, but we'll mention that a little bit later.
News?
Some new news about the our Teespring offer.
Okay, cool.
So the first bit of news is critical news. Which is why Shaun put it first. So this comes from Canada. This comes from Shearwater, the dive computer manufacturer. If you have a Petrel 2 dive computer, which is the kind of the square boxy sort of one, there is a new critical update, version 83, for the Petrel 2, and they basically discovered a fault in very certain specific circumstances. Sometimes when you change the battery, and as you know, you put the new battery back in and it clears the tissues. Turns out that the dive computer wasn't clearing the tissues, or it said it was, but it kind of wasn't doing stuff in the background, something along those lines. But basically, there's a patch for it. It's free, obviously. So just sort of plug it into your or wirelessly Bluetooth it to your phone, the app, or whatever you have to your desktop. I just did it for my Perdix, and there was an update. That's the thing with modern dive computers. You can. The manufacturers, they don't just make the dive computer and then sort of 3 years down the road kind of say, oh well, yeah, that one's always had that bug, and now it's just kind of like, oh, there's a bug, oh, let's fix it, and they just roll out a free update. You just download it on the app or whatever. I just did it sort of whilst I was waiting for Shaun this morning. So if you've got a Shearwater dive computer, whether it's a Petrel or a Perdix or a Terric or whatever, connect it to the app, just update the software and or the firmware. I don't know the difference between firmware and software.
One's soft and one's firm.
Oh,
there you go.
And that'll sort of update it for you. If you want more information, Shearwater is amazing on their sort of updates. They release a new PDF that goes through every single version and what they've updated and what they've kind of tweaked. So recently, a lot of the updates have been on the Peregrine, the new dive computer, but yeah, version 83 is on the Petrel 2. I'll just read it out. So, fixes an issue that could occur during battery change, where under certain circumstances after a battery change, the tissue's integrity check could be bypassed, resulting in corrupted decompression tissues. This resulted in an obviously incorrect display of a decompression stop depth, or OVR, whilst on the surface. The issue only affected the Petrel 2 and only on firmware version 81. So it's a very, very specific fault, but they fixed it. So if you've got a Petrel 2, update it sort of whilst you're watching the show. Yeah, I quite like this, that dive computers do get these sort of regular updates. I'm sure most brands do them. Shearwater seems to be quite religious about it, and they make quite a big song and dance about it. It's not kind of, if you remember, it would be kind of nice if you could sometimes every now and then check. Whereas Shearwater are like, oh, hey guys, there's a new update. Just update your dive computers. So
it makes everything safer, doesn't it? You know. And having that sort of reliability, like software, like every month or every other month, it just means that it just proves that Shearwater are looking at all their computer systems and all their programming, all their software, all their firmware, and going, oh no, look, we can tweak it here, we can tweak it there, which means you're getting more performance. So even if you have an older Shearwater dive computer that is accessible to, to be linked to a computer or, the app via Bluetooth, it just means that, you're getting the best out of your dive computer. It just makes more sense. And again, like with these types of algorithms and stuff like that and updates, sometimes, not always, but it can rely on giving you a better battery life and all that sort of thing as well. So as I say, the more updates you do, depending on what they're fixing or whatever, can actually make your dive computer last. Whereas if you go for like an older dive computer or a dive computer it's this algorithm, it's this program, and that's it. Like Mark said, there could be issues with it further down the line. And if it's a serious issue, you've got a recall. How many recalls have probably done, or they used to be done with dive computers now, whereas in just upload the app, click update my dive computer, bosh. It's safe to use again.
Yeah, you're without your dive computer for 20 minutes instead of 20 days.
Yeah, exactly.
So, whilst talking about diver safety, the next news story comes from the Seychelles. So 5 scuba divers were diving off the Seychelles, and they got lost at sea basically for about 6 hours. So they. So it's a group of 6 divers, mixed nationalities, some from like South Africa, some from the UK, some from Russia, and they decided to go sort of diving in one particular area. The 6th diver stayed on board the boat, just a small little boat, and apparently when they got down, they were met by fairly rubbish visibility and fairly strong currents as well, so they decided to thumb the dive after about 20 minutes. By that point, when they surfaced, they couldn't see the boat. The boat that was on the surface was also carried by the current. He waited 45 minutes, which was the kind of the sort of the expected dive time, when they didn't resurface and he couldn't find them. He basically started to sort of raise alarms, who then called the Coast Guard, and then 6 hours later they managed to find them. So apparently everyone is sort of fit and healthy. They've gone through sort of routine medical checkups and all that kind of stuff. Everyone was fine, but the Seychelles Coast Guard basically not quite victim shaming, but basically said, right, if you want to go out, just tell us. So instead of just sort of planning a trip and just sort of going off by yourself, if it's just a small boat, it's fine. You don't have to do any paperwork. Just literally call us up, just say where you're going. At least then we'll have it kind of on our system. If you're planning a big sort of charter boat, then there's paperwork that you need to fill out. But they're saying, we threw all of our sort of resources into sort of searching for you people, and it cost this much and all this kind of stuff. It's like, well, yeah, I do get that, but in the same breath, come on, guys, that's kind of what you're there for. You do need to sort of appreciate that. People do need sort of saving from time to time. I think their main bugbear was, I think they might have been a bit vague on sort of the location. So instead of just sending out sort of one boat, just a boom, that's kind of where they're going to be, they sent out like everything. So the helicopters, big sort of search patterns to search a huge area, and then eventually they were found. But and it's kind of what we've been saying about sort of diving sort of recently during lockdown, is that resources are spread kind of thin nowadays, sort of looking after sort of COVID patients and everything. So it's tough to always say it, but please don't get lost. I don't think they really.
I'm saying like BCDs, like there should be some sort of tracking system. Obviously, we spoke about that Milo recording system, which is awesome. But I think if you have a piece of kit that somewhere on your kit is just a monitor device, whether that's your mask, your BCD, your wetsuit, something just has a little ping. So then when they go, look, such and such is missing, they go, okay, they've got this ping, this locator, boom, oh look, that's where they are.
Yeah. And one of the first things that I do if I ever come across sort of strong current is just set my SMB up, so that way the boat can see immediately, right, that's where they are, because it's really easy just to lose people's bubbles sort of on the surface when you're surface support. So everyone made it back fine. It's just that kind of reminder to be careful and just thumb a dive as soon as possible.
It is weird that that they were saying that, let us know. And I'm like, I understand where they're coming from in that point, but like again, you take that from a hiker's perspective, they're not going to phone up mountain rescue or lowland rescue and go, I'm going for a walk.
Yeah.
It's a bit like
it is tough, and again, it just kind of, it reiterates. So when you're planning a dive, just sort of make sure that you have all the information sort of readily available, so that if there is an incident, someone knows who to call, where you are, sort of what the conditions are like, just to make search and recovery that much sort of faster. Because 6 hours just bobbing around on the surface can't be that much fun.
Why do you reckon they've not done that? Like, going back to my other point and putting little trackers, because when you snowboard, you buy a jacket. Yep. Not every jacket has it, but when you go snowboarding or you go skiing, you have a tracking system in your jackets.
I think it's just waterproofing it, and like the price, and then range.
I guess underwater, I guess. But then if they're surface, they're on the surface.
Oh yeah, they'll never be underwater. But yeah, even on the surface, there's a lot of nothing out at sea. I don't know whether the snowboarding ones like bounce off one another or do anything, but I don't know what the range is. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. Just an idea, guys. Manufacturers out there, see if you can. If you're watching this, you work for a brand and they've got like tracking systems. Why are they not in everyday scuba diving products that you can pick up, even like a snorkel or a mask, something simple? That's not. It'll be
like an Inspector Gadget snorkel. You put it in and something like extends out.
Yeah, man,
a giant radar.
Hey, if it saves a life, it might weigh a ton, but it's fine.
Today's episode of Daily Deco is sponsored by our very own Teespring store. I am wearing a dive t-shirt. You can kind of see it there under my Christmas jumper. We're still offering 15% off if you use the promo code Daily Deco. Just sort of head over to our Teespring store, find any merchandise that you like, sort of pick and choose the color and size and what design and all that kind of stuff, add it into your basket, use the promo code Daily Deco, all one word. That will get you 15% off of your offer. Now, Teesprings has released their holiday shipping cutoff dates, both for US and European fulfillment regions. So they have factories that basically make the t-shirts and the mugs and all the sort of different stuff. They have some in the US, they have some in the EU. I think they cross over in some places, so I think they make t-shirts both in the EU and the US, but they'll only make some things in the US and they'll only make some things in the EU. If you want it before Christmas, it's getting a bit late, to be honest. I think the only way that you can get certain items before Christmas now is if it's in the US, it has to be super rush shipping, so you really have to pay extra for that. If it's in the EU and you're in the EU, then it kind of has to be by December 20th. But again, that's rush shipping as well. I think for regular standard shipping, all those dates have already run out. So it's getting a bit late, unless you're looking for something for the new year, in which case, still go for it. They're still going to make stuff and they're still going to ship it to you, but they can't really promise it before Christmas now.
But it's that time of year, and you got it on. You wear it on social. You buy something, share it on social, please. Pretty please. No one's done it yet, apart from Mark. Even though I haven't done it, I've got a face mask.
God. I expect that this afternoon, Sean. So, the next news story is a study that's focused on sort of sharks and rays, and it actually came out with a quite horrendous conclusion, sort of studying sort of over 420 assessments of shark and ray species, and they're predicting that 300 species of shark and ray will be sort of upgraded to sort of threatened and extinction even, unless we make some big changes. So they said of the 420 assessments, 154 of those species were already classified as threatened or at risk of extinction in the wild. Among them are 4 different hammerhead shark species. I like hammerhead sharks.
Yeah,
we want to keep them. 4 species of angel shark, and giant manta rays as well, which is now facing a very high risk of extinction. So Dr. Andy Cornish went on record saying that these findings are sadly predictable. It's one of these things that we kind of all know about it, and we kind of feel like it's like gonna happen, but nothing really substantial seems to change. I mean, they do go on to say that sort of some things have changed for the better, and they are kind of not at such a sort of steady rate, but still, unless something really big changes, I think a lot of these sort of species are going to just disappear, unfortunately. And sharks, well, especially the bigger sharks like sort of great whites, they don't do well in captivity. So this might be it. In a few generations, we might have fewer sharks and rays around in our waters, which is just sad.
Thanks for that. I was feeling.
Yeah. You put this story in.
I'm blaming you, Mark. I didn't write it.
I mean, they. So Dr. Cornish goes on to.
Fake news, mate. It's fake news. It's not real. There's loads of sharks. There's more sharks than people.
They're just underwater. That's why we don't see them.
Yeah, exactly.
So Dr. Cornish goes on to say that we also desperately need to scale up efforts to recover populations of the most threatened species. Failure to do so will inevitably result in a wave of extinctions happening on our watch. We must seize the moments to stop that from happening. So yeah, it's a matter of it's all the same sort of culprits. It's sort of overfishing and sort of bycatch, and they said that what was it, the manta rays, they're particularly susceptible to sort of being caught in nets, and then as soon as they're caught, they're just dead. So even if you throw them back, it doesn't help anything. So we really do need to sort of do something. And I did see a good it's a petition for the government, which I'll see if I can find a link to give to Shaun, where if they get so many sort of signatures, then the UK Parliament will sort of discuss it. If they get over such and such, it will get sort of something big, and that was all about after sort of Brexit preventing all of those super trawlers, not just regular fishermen. Regular fishermen are kind of okay, but the super trawlers, the sort of 3 football fields long, that just scour everything and just take it all in, and like they'll can it and freeze it all in the same ship. Just ban those from sort of British waters. That's kind of what we need to do. Just
because like your local fishermen and all that sort of thing, that again, if they're eco-aware, and like we said previously, where like when you said about the lobster traps and stuff, a lot of local fishermen, they want environment, they don't want to catch things that they should be catching because it affects their business, you know what I mean? They want to be as environmentally and as efficient as possible. So that's really, hopefully you find that we can get that signed.
Sea Shepherd shared it with me yesterday, I'll send that on. And whilst we're talking about sort of fishing, there's been a study in the sort of a quantitative study in the different plastics that are causing the most havoc to sort of marine species, and quite interesting results actually. It's quite morbid because it's they basically studied sort of 700 marine species, and they kind of looked at sort of how they died and sort of what plastics were involved, and sort of broke it down into different species and tried to work out what was the most lethal sort of plastic, whether it's like plastic bags or whether it's sort of microplastics or whatnot. And the results, they were quite interesting. So it's they said that softer film-like sort of plastics, like your plastic bags, they were more dangerous for, I think it was whales and cetaceans. Hang on, let me just read through the story. So they incorporated over 1,300 marine animals, sort of cetaceans, seals, sea lions, sea turtles, seabirds, and all sorts. And they examined which was the most lethal. So flexible plastics, such as plastic bags, they of course cause gut blockage, so they'll eat the plastic and then it kind of gets lodged in their digestive system, and then they basically starve to death. So these film plastics cause most deaths in cetaceans and sea turtles, so your whales and your dolphins and sea turtles. Fishing debris, like sort of ghost gear and whatnot, that actually caused fatalities in larger animals, particularly seals and sea lions, because sea lions didn't tend to ingest the plastic sort of bags as much, but they did go for sort of fishing gear. And then they were talking about small, sharp bits of sort of plastic that the animals eat, and then it sort of just decimates their insides, causing infection and all that kind of stuff. They said that sort of balloons, ropes, and sort of rubber and whatnot, they were more deadly for smaller fauna, and the harder plastics were sort of deaths among seabirds. So it's all bad, but each is bad for their own specific group. So
it's turning out to be a fun Daily Deco Mark.
It's stuff that people need to hear about, unfortunately.
I do.
I think the diving community already kind of knows this, but for any new viewers, then it's kind of an eye opener. But yeah, they were saying that fisheries in general have sort of gear loss rates of around just under 6% of all fishing nets just gets lost. 29%, so that's almost a third of all lines, are lost annually in commercial fishing. So they just lose this stuff. Now, don't get me wrong, that as we said earlier, I think a lot of the smaller fishermen, they don't like to lose their gear because it's pretty expensive. But what they're saying is they want to incentivize repairing gear, as well as sort of dedicated disposal zones at sort of ports and whatnot, so that the fishermen can dispose of it responsibly, and there's no like financial sort of risk, and it's not just kind of like, oh, I'm not going to take it there because they charge me money to donate it or whatever. I'll just chuck it in the ocean, out of sight, out of mind. So they want to make that a bit easier, but also penalise people who are found to have disposed and dumped gear in the water by enforcing penalties. And for most sort of normal people, sort of day-to-day people, balloons, sort of soft plastics, just be sort of very careful with them. Don't intentionally release sort of balloons out into the wild. I keep seeing them every time I take the dogs for a walk. I'll still find a sort of a balloon that's sort of popped and it's just sort of caught in some tree. Just if you do see it, just pick it up, sort of throw it in a bag or put it in a pocket, and then just throw it away in a bin as soon as you can, because it's not going anywhere. The only place it will eventually end up is in the water system, and then it's just going to kill these animals. But it was an interesting sort of article. There'll be a link down in the description below so that you can read sort of more about it. And it was quite interesting reading about, obviously all these plastics are bad, but actually these plastics are specifically bad for these types of species, whereas these ones are a bit more lethal for that. It was interesting, but I do think sort of more people do need to sort of know about it and appreciate it, and then dispose of their plastics a bit safer.
Yeah.
There was another news story that I heard about today, which I'll talk about tomorrow, and that was this was a recycling ship from the UK heading to the US, and they bundled sort of all the plastic. They kind of not shrink wrap, but they kind of crush it down into cubes. Like 2 of these 1 ton cubes just fell off the ship whilst they were sort of unloading it sort of around Maine or something, and the locals basically spent a lot of time just litter picking the beaches, trying to sort of collect all this plastic. But I'll read that story and I'll mention that tomorrow.
Have you
Yeah,
heard about the
plastics.
plastic bricks? So what they're doing is plastics that aren't or that can't be recycled. They condense it enough, and then it's solid like a brick, and then they're building houses with it. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, I did see, and I think we reported on it a year or two ago, where they convert old shipping containers into these like plastic product factories. So they can just move these containers wherever and just kind of dump them down, and then where there are sort of locals who sort of need work, they basically, if you sort of collect this certain type of plastic, and then they sort of put it in a bin, and then the bin kind of gets washed, and then it gets prepared, and then they sort of melt it down, and then they sort of compression mold it into like sort of bowls and furniture and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, there is stuff that we can do with it. It's just fairly labor intensive, and we do need sort of a workforce to literally sort through it, clean it, and then turn it into something. But yeah, bricks make sense, because I imagine it's fairly thermal in sort of keeping things nice and warm. It's pretty strong. It'll never sort of rot. It's plastic. It's not going anywhere. Yeah.
Maybe we should start our own plastic brick company. Call it Lugo.
Plastic houses.
Yeah.
I think James May did that once, but with Lego. I think it wasn't the most comfortable.
Yeah, the Lego house, and he made a Lego bed, and it was just like, my back!
I think that was the uncomfortable bit. But
was that James May? Or was it an artist?
I think it was. I don't know. I remember seeing James May walking around it. I don't know whether he made it or whether he was just like walking around it. But yeah, constantly walking around on sort of Lego barefoot. Oh.
That won't happen with the plastic bricks. They're not really Lego.
Oh no. Yeah, we'll make them nice and soft.
There are other plastic bricks available other than Lego. I don't know what they are like. No, that's the same thing. It's just bigger. What was it?
They tried to make a Duplo movie.
They call it bricks, but with like an X.
Oh yeah, and there was Bric-a-Brac. Do you remember Bric-a-Brac?
I know Bric-a-Brac as in like when you go to a summer fete and you got the Bric-a-Brac stall, and it's like second-hand tat.
Maybe I'm thinking of something else, but it was like plastic bricks, but they had like lots of little sort of silai, sort of little sort of things, and they were kind of meshed together. I don't know.
Oh, I know what you mean. I know. I think they were called sticks or something. Brick sticks.
Yeah.
Oh, something like that.
Anyway,
another one,
we've gone off on one of our legendary tangents.
Indeed.
But yeah, that's it for the news today. If you have any interesting news that you want us to mention, let us know down in the comments below. If you've just passed your open water or whatever it is, by all means, let us know down below, and we will mention you in tomorrow's show. If you have any questions, comments, queries, or corrections, again, let us know down in the comments below. All of your questions will be answered in the Friday Q&A. Yeah, that's about it. Don't forget to sort of snap a photo of yourself in our Simply Scuba merchandise and tag us on Instagram at Simply Scuba, because we want to see you wonderful people. Thank you for watching, and of course, safe diving.
Stay classy, scuba divers.